Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about the Rudy Gobert trade to Minnesota because it is a no good, god awful, terrible trade. And it makes absolutely no sense for either team, but most specifically for Minnesota. And allow me to break down why. And even as a Blazers fan, it actually pains me to go through this. So just bear with me. When I first saw that this trade happened, I was absolutely stunned. I was losing my shit in the worst way possible. I was saying, what? Incessantly, until eventually I finally was able to find the words for it. What the fuck is wrong with you in Minnesota? Because, holy shit, there's a fuck ton to unpack about how bad of a trade this was. Especially for Minnesota. Including not just right then when it happened, what you gave away then, but also for the future of the team. It's terrible. So, first off, you just extended Cat to a maximum contract extension this season. So you're paying him $260 million off the bat right now on the payroll for your team. You're a small market, you don't really have that much money. And your team also is not that valuable. It's kind of middle of the pack, either it's bottom of the pack, I can't remember which, but it's neither one's a great position to be in, especially if you're overpaying somebody that much when he hasn't really been able to improve much more than we've seen from him already, to the extent that it's also proven that he's not really capable of leading a team very deep, if at all, to or through the playoffs. Not a great look. But on top of that, you did that just after trading for Rudy Gobert, who's already agonizingly overpaid. And I get it, Rudy Gobert is a phenomenal defensive anchor to have on your team and leader to have on your team. It doesn't matter what statistics you look at. You can look at the general statistics, the advanced statistics, analytics, the advanced analytics. You can look at individual players. You can look at position-specific statistics and analytics and data. Or my personal favorite metric to look at to prove if a player is actually genuinely good or genuinely terrible at defense in the NBA is via looking at the team impact they have game to game. He's always borderline historic levels of how much positive impact he's had on Utah's ass the entire time he's been there as the defensive leader and anchor of that team. So clearly, he's a very, very damn good defensive anchor player and leader. You need that kind of a player on your team to lead your offense. Your defense. Period. End of fucking story. Even today. And the athleticism-based game of which he lacks. He's imperative. He makes a massive impact on that team. So as a result, even though that's the case, yes, he's agonizingly overpaid. He does not deserve the massive swath of money he's owed. Think about it this way. He's owed what? Another $200 million over the next, 4 seasons, I think it is? So you're paying only just 2 guys. You're paying $400+ million that actually are exactly the same position, center. You're paying both of them that much money. That's already proven how horrifically stupid of a trade this was. But now, you go on to number 2, which that kind of already alluded to there on that last point. And that is the fact that they're at the same position. They're both really tall, big guys. They take a lot of space. They both are post players on both ends of the ball. You have Cat, who's 6'11", 7 foot, 50 pounds. You have Rudy Gobert, who's 7'1", 7'2", and 280 pounds. And you want to try to play those guys together. I don't care about the fact that Cat is a stretch big and he takes a lot of threes still, and even does some decent high post game sometimes when he decides to. He's still a post guy. He's still a big man. Now you want to try to play those two together at the same time, game after game. I'm sorry, it's never worked. It's literally never once worked. It's always backfired horrifically in the faces of teams who have tried this. So what the flying fuck are you doing? Are you really delusional enough to think it will work now? Because I guarantee to you it won't. There's a 0.0001% chance that this will actually somehow work, But I also guarantee it's not enough to get this team to the next level to become a championship contender. And if you're already paying over $400 million for just two guys, and you're gonna definitely want to retain Anthony Edwards when he comes up in 2 seasons for a contract extension, which also is very likely to be a max contract extension. By the way, is going to be more 2 years from now than it is now because of the new CBA and the new television deal. It means that everything business-wise in the NBA is going to be that much more money. He's going to be out more than he is now. So 191 to 193 I think is the cap right now for the max rookie extension. He's pretty much guaranteed to get that, be given that, Anthony Edwards. But you now don't have the money to give it to him because you'll still have both Cat and Rudy Gobert on contract for still well over $100 million. Now you got to give him that money. Where are you going to get the money for literally anyone else? Who's going to take that massive of a pay cut? Unless you really believe somehow by then, Anthony Edwards will have developed enough. Somehow Cat will have developed even higher IQ and better awareness offensively, and also have developed better defensive capabilities for once, and more consistency on that end. Even if that's the case, and somehow Rudy miraculously suddenly finds out how to play a bit better offense and a bit more expanded level, do you really think that's enough to be a big three that can actually give you championship contention with decent role players the rest of the way? I would say no. I could see how somebody might try to argue yes, because that's always what people do when it comes down to their favorite team. They have a bias. They're of course going to say that because they want that to be true. Especially when you're a franchise like the Wolves, or the Blazers, or the Pistons, or the Kings, or the Magic, where you just suffer nonstop. It makes perfect sense. You want to give yourself a comforted delusion, but it's probably never going to happen. It could. Yes, there's always a chance, but it's pretty much guaranteed never to happen. And as a Blazers fan, I can safely say, don't fall for that trap of hope. It's a bad thing because it will always end up eating your ass without you wanting it to. I don't know why that's an analogy that popped into my head, but that's what happened. I'm lost. Anyway, listen, the point is, yeah, it's not comfortable and it's not a fun thing, and you will regret it. So those are the two main reasons why it's a terrible idea. But obviously, the other reason is how much you gave away. You pretty much sold the entire kitchen. You sold the entirety of your savings. You sold the entirety of your future. That gave you any kind of future stability and ability to improve. You threw it all out the window by overpaying, by overgiving to the Utah's ass for frickin' Rudy Gobert, who's already overpaid, so now you're paying way too much. And then on top of that, you box yourself out of having contract ability to pay anybody of value. And then on top of that, yeah, you trade away the entirety of like half of your fucking house and all of your future to Utah's ass for one guy, just one guy. That's it, who's overpaid, and you traded away 5 first-round picks, 3 of which are unprotected, and Jared Vanderbilt, and oh my god, and Patricia Beverly, and 1 or 2 other players. You traded your entire future away for one guy who is massively overpaid. Now you're overpaying for just two single players, and you need to overpay for a third guy here in 2 seasons. Congratulations, your general manager absolutely fucked you for a long time to come. What the fuck is going on in Minnesota? I don't know. Everybody's like, what the fuck is going on in Brooklyn? No, it's what the fuck is going on in Minnesota. That's what people should be reacting to that way. What the flying fuck is going on in Minneapolis right now? At the headquarters of the corporation known as the Minnesota Timberwolves. The fuck are they on? Do they have rabies? They've lost their fucking minds. They need to seek help. Because this was the stupidest fucking thing you could have done. So congratulations, Minnesota. Your general manager managed to somehow out-stupid the stupidest that is the Portland Trail Blazers general management and the Sacramento Kings general management in one foul swoop. How the fuck are you going to try to defend that if you're one of those delusional fans that every fan base has? I don't even want to know. So that's why this trade is the worst fucking trade I think I've ever heard ever go down in NBA history. It's that fucking bad. And it's going to backfire. I guarantee you this is going to backfire horrifically for at least upwards of 5 seasons straight, from not counting this coming season forward. 5 seasons straight. So 6 full seasons. You guys are pretty screwed. On Utah's side, Utah's ass's side, I should say, so the ass side of the spectrum, people might think, okay, well, then that means they got away with fucking theft. In a way, they kind of did. But here's my problem with why I think that Utah's ass fucked this up too. Because this was also a stupid trade on their end. They traded away Rudy Gobert instead of Donovan Mitchell. Now, most people are going to think I'm out of my fucking mind for thinking that you should trade Donovan Mitchell instead of Rudy Gobert. We all know it's always been the last, 2 seasons, one or the other. You knew one of them was going to get traded. Who was it? Well, pretty much everybody would say, obviously, you're going to trade Rudy Gobert, not Donovan Mitchell. Donovan's more important to the Super Bowl. He's not. If you're a logical and very aware, observant person, you realize Donovan has infinitely more gaps and lacks in his game and in his skill sets than Rudy Gobert does. That seems false just because of the fact that Rudy Gobert doesn't have really almost any offense or athletic ability to him. But the fact of reality is he's more complete because he's been developed in a specific way where he's consistently broadened the scope of his ability to defend, and his athleticism has not been worked on so much as fine-tuned by him and his trainers to be able to allow him to have much better lateral quickness and be able to use his mental attributes and skills to be able to actually take advantage of his lack of athleticism and be able to know in the tweaks he's made to his athleticism in terms of lateral quickness, he can then use his mental attributes to be able to get ahead of the person that he now has to step up to defend that normally he would have a massive disadvantage defending. And he consistently shows he's doing that all the time. Little nuances that are in details that are actually that much more impactful than the main skill itself. That's Rudy Gobert. So he's actually very complete, and he's actually pretty cerebral. Whereas Donovan is a fucking pothole-loaded freeway that hasn't been updated, maintained, or repaired in at least over 2 decades. It's just rotting away. That's Donovan Mitchell, because they're doing the same thing with him that Portland has done with Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, so on, which is they've wasted away their prime and their ability to fulfill their full potentials, including on the defensive ends, because they want them to play hero ball. They want them to be that big of a leader offensively that they just let them suck. Donovan has not actually even improved that much offensively since his rookie year. He's improved just enough that you'll notice his incremental increase in the overall percentage splits he has from the field. But overall, if you look at his choices, his awareness, his IQ on decision-making offensively, the only real place he's improved, at least noticeably year after year, is ball distribution. He's became a lot better at being able to handle the ball and pass it more accurately without getting it stolen as easily. But he still makes a fuck ton of mistakes that a true point guard would never make. So he's still inconsistent on that side of the ball. And that's the main problem he has offensively, is he's painfully inconsistent because he doesn't have the highest IQ or awareness or IQ, intelligence when being a hero ball guy. So he averages between 43 and 45% from the field any given season, making him, in my opinion, a terrible offensive player. In massive part, it's the fault of the teams themselves and their development crew. That is really their fault because they're making sure they further emphasize to these players that's what they need to work on, is being more focused on hero ball. That's what they want. They want that as a leader on their offense. And it's super stupid. Moreover, Donovan is a very undersized 2-guard. He's definitely a genuine shooting guard. He's not that great at being a combo guard as a point guard. He can do it in short stretches, but in bursts, but he's not a truly capable, consistent point guard, combo guard. He is truly a true 2-guard, shooting guard. But the problem is he's very undersized. He's like 6'2 and a half. It doesn't matter how athletic you are or how much bounce you have, especially when you play hero ball. Well, you'd hope that no team would be dumb enough to actually think, this is our guy to lead our team and be the guy. for the rest of our future. Instead of, the fucking anchor on defense. I would have traded Donovan. I think that Utah fucked it up by not trading Donovan and instead trading Rudy. Although then again, it sounds like, that's the stark fucking blatantly offensively starkly contrasted differences, polar opposite style of play and skill sets between Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. They were at such odds because they were such polar opposites in this game that we call basketball that in a way they kind of clashed. And I think actually that was part of the reason why they kind of had a divergence in terms of even their supposed friendship, was the fact that they got strained because Rudy comes from a defensive skill set, background, and mindset. Donovan comes from the opposite. They clashed. They butted heads because they're both kind of leaders and anchors, but on opposite ends. And so as a result, they're bitching at each other for supposedly being at the fault of failing at something else that they wanted to do. And so as a result, it's like a constant tug of war of dominance almost over who gets to have the better lead and who has the better idea. I think that was probably a huge issue there, was egoic headbutting between the two and a tug of war over and fight basically over like who should be the one who gets listened to and followed instead. Because they're so opposite. Like sometimes you can make that work, but with the egos that people have these days, especially in Major League Sports, it's a disaster just begging to happen, and Utah's ass got to experience that directly. So Utah definitely, to me, fucked it up because they should have traded Donovan. Even though, again, the point I was trying to get at with that last bit is the fact that actually, likely it is if it was Donovan instead, Minnesota wouldn't have made this trade in the first place. But then I wouldn't make this video because it wouldn't have resulted in the stupidest fucking trade that may even be the stupidest that's ever happened in NBA history. But especially from Minnesota's perspective. Because Minnesota, you're the one who really got reamed here on this trade. I don't know what the heck your general managers were thinking, but they're out of their damn minds. And I apologize for the next 2 to 6 years of pain you're probably going to have to go through again. What is going on in the Northwest divisions of all Major League Sports? I don't understand. Everything's just falling apart. Ugh.